All right, so recently the African narratives shared this. They says top 10 mineral producing countries in Africa by exports. Note this, it is said by highest volumes of natural resources exported, including but not limited to. Okay, so this is African time. The name is Vadashi. Well, we are actually going to discuss about the top 10 mineral producing African countries and also their global ranking or some of their global rankings. Okay, we are here to see how much the African continent is actually exporting when it comes to minerals and natural resources. Okay, well, don't go nowhere. Let's discuss Africa. The name is Vadashi and this is African time. Let's discuss Africa, shall we? Let's go. Okay, so they came and says number one on the list is South Africa. South Africa is said to export around 124.96 billion US dollars, and the main export was gold, coal, platinum, and then diamonds. At number two, we have Nigeria. Nigeria is said to export around 52.69 billion dollars, and their most exports are oil, iron ore, and then columbite. Okay. At number three, we have Algeria exporting around $38.70 billion, and that is hydrocarbons. At number four, we have Angola exporting 32.04 billion, and their mainly export natural gas resources are diamond, gold, and oil. At number five, we have Libya. Libya is said to export around $27.03 billion, and their top exports are oil, clay, cement, and salt. At number six, we have Egypt from the Northern Africa. It's said to export around $23.22 billion, and their most exports is gold, copper, and silver. At number seven, we have Ghana from the west side of Africa, exporting around $14.97 billion. Their most exports is gold, limestone, and iron ore. Okay. At number eight, we have Democratic Republic of the Congo, one of the most versatile, or should I say, most naturally rich African country we have there, and they said to export around $13.69 billion. They have export, or their top export is gold, copper, and cobalt. And number nine, we have Gabon. Though Gabon is said to export around $10.92 billion, and their most export is manganese, iron ore, and then uranium. Okay, so uranium. Fine. Okay, so at number 10, we have Zimbabwe having to export around $9.77 billion. And then that is their top export is platinum, chrome, and coal, then gold. Okay, so it says Africa is home to nearly 30% of the world's mineral resources, with countries rich in oil, diamond, gold, copper, and coal, iron ore, uranium, and then more. Okay. All right, so these countries listed here are said to be your top mineral producing African countries by export, okay, based on how much they actually export to either various countries through trade. They are actually listed here as your top mineral producing countries. And you have South Africa leading the chart with $124.96 billion. Well, here it is get actually interesting. Well, South Africa is at number one, and the following country is Nigeria with only 52 billion US dollars. Now, if you are to check in the interval, South Africa has about $80 billion gap with the second place African country. That should tell you how great the South African country is. I don't know if they are actually striking the better deals or they have more minerals to sell. But trust me though, South Africans are actually making a good use of their mineral resources so far. They are actually going in for better trade. If I'm to compare with the African people or African countries based on these lists and based on these income on the export, I will actually say that they actually at least getting enough from their minerals and resources. Okay, Nigeria following with $52.69 billion is actually not bad, but hey, South Africa, the gap is serious with $124.96. That is almost $125 billion in mineral exports. Okay, that is so cool. So that by so being is said to be South Africa is said to be your top mineral producing country by export in Africa. This is actually the recent data that was shared. Well, the source to this information was actually by Economics Intelligence Unit 2022. Okay, that was the recent one that was actually shared, and you all knows it just didn't actually come about. It came with the top exporting things that they actually export. That is gold, coal, platinum, diamonds. Well, one thing for sure is that it seems that mostly all African countries actually transport one thing in common. gold. Seems like a lot of countries in Africa has gold. Well, if Africa is actually rich with gold, why are we not dominating the gold markets? Because the gold reserve in African countries is actually low compared to the European countries. Why are we exporting too much of our minerals when we actually lack a lot of things that we can actually add value to our products and into our minerals? Okay, well, this is actually something interesting that I was actually here to share to you, my African people, concerning the African continent, and also to the South African government and the South African people too, how great these people are in terms of their mineral resources and manufacturing, and also exporting their mineral resources. Well, we actually knows how industrious South Africa is. I think most of the things that actually contributed to for them to actually earning more on their natural resources is adding value to their products. I'm sure we all know how big industrial South Africa economy is. South Africa economy is basically industrious. Okay, so basically I'm sure that they actually adding a lot of value to their mineral resources compared to the other African countries, mostly my Western African people, Nigerians, Ghanaians, and then my Zimbabweans, my Democratic Republic of Congo, though mostly them, because these people are said to be the most rich mineral resource country in Africa. But look at where they have. They have actually exported only $13.69 billion. That should actually tells you that something is actually not right with them. Okay, hopefully they get things right. Well, this one says, wow, the continent is so rich in precious minerals and yet one of the poorest. Not the poorest actually, but there is a lot of income disparity. Okay, so that's for sure though. Africa is actually rich in minerals, but we are actually lacking better trade and adding values to our goods. And also, that's for sure. Wealth disparity is actually one problem here. We have a lot of vast rich people, we have a lot of vast poor people, and then rich people too. But the difference between them is so huge, though. The way of sharing of wealth in Africa continent is something that we actually need to address. Okay, the difference between the rich and the poor is so huge in our society that we actually need to work on that. And how are we so rich in all these minerals and we're actually lacking a lot? It all boils down to our leaders' policies and also why we are not adding values to our goods. Well, this one also says, so proud of South Africa being the top one there. But that is a South African also. He's saying how proud he is for seeing South Africa being up there. Well, I would say I'm also proud as an African. I'm proud about South Africa actually adding values to their goods and also being top in Africa with this huge margin. I would say big shout out to my South Africans though. Shout out to you guys. Well, this one also says Africa is indeed naturally endowed. Well, that's so true. We're actually blessed in this continent, okay? We actually lack some few touches, and then our mentality for sure needs to change. But for now, I'm thinking we're actually doing great. We are actually producing more people with skills, building up their knowledge, going to school, studying a lot of things. But we actually need to get all these powerful minds in our continent and get the continent working. The name is Vadashi. This was African Time. I'm actually glad to actually talk to you about Africa's top minerals producing countries based on exports, okay? And we got to know that South Africa is actually topping, and also have to share with you the top 10 African countries and their figures that actually made throughout the year 2022. And it says South Africa is number 1, number 2 we have Nigeria, number 3 we have Algeria, number 4 Angola, 5 Libya, 6 Egypt, 7 Ghana, 8 DR Congo, and then 9 Gabon, and lastly at number 10 we have Zimbabwe. Okay, so shout out to all African countries that are actually listed here, and to all of you guys who are yet to come here, I say you guys should keep on your work. And I know all the African countries are rich with oils and minerals, almost everything that we have God have blessed us with. So you guys need to strike a better deal and then change your economy. The name is Vidashi. Hope you have learned something today. Let's meet for more times and discuss Africa, shall we? Thank you for your time.